everyone, welcome to the Knitteratti podcast. I'm Lincoln Ashley from Knitteratti Designs. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. I do appreciate it. And if this is your first time viewing, you're very, very welcome. This is a weekly podcast. You're welcome to leave any comments that you might have underneath this video on YouTube. Alternatively, you can contact me via Ravelry, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. So if you want to contact me, you can either search for Lincoln Ashley or Knitteratti Designs and I should pop up for you. Okay, so this week has been a very stressful week for me, and normally when I'm stressed, knitting is my go-to, and the thing is I've actually been so stressed that I couldn't really knit this week. So that'll tell you how bad it's been. I'm not going to go into it too much because I don't want to bore you with personal things, but needless to say, it is almost impossible to find an honest worker that will come and do some work on your home. That's all I'm going to say on that. Okay, so you might recognize this from last week. This is one of the socks that I'm working on for the enabler, and it's West Yorkshire Spinners. Again, I won't linger on this for too long because I've shown it there last week and the week before, I think. So there's the colourway. And I've completed one of the socks. So for those of you who didn't watch last week, sorry, I'm after hitting off the camera there. For those of you who didn't see last week, I had knit this far too long, and then by the time I put the heel in, I mean, his feet would have needed to have been huge to fit into it. So I pulled it back. I've done the heel again. See it there a little bit better. I actually quite like the shaping here. But I do enjoy some nice shaping. It's one of those really satisfying things for a knitter. Well, for me as a knitter, I suppose. Maybe not for everyone. And then some 2x2 ribbing at the top, which hopefully will keep it in place. As you can see, I haven't blocked this, so there is a very small amount of laddering, but I find that when I manipulate it, it goes away. So I think once these are washed, I think that'll be gone completely and it'll be all good. So just to show it from the front, I actually really like this colourway. I don't think normally when I knit socks for myself, because my feet are quite small, I normally have quite a bit left over. But I don't think I'm going to have as much left over this time. Still, I might have enough to make a hat. I'll keep you posted. And there's the heel from another angle. Sorry, I hope I'm not moving too fast. So yeah, somebody on the comments last week suggested that I try using the Fish Lips Kiss heel, and I might do that on my next pair. I think I am going to start experimenting with different heels and what have you, if I do start knitting more socks. So what I really want to do is I'm going to give these to the enabler when they're done and see if he actually wears them and how they wear and how they wash, and just take it from there and see if it's worth hand knitting socks for him. I was a little shocked, as I was saying last week, when he tried on the extra big sock and went, oh yeah, that's fine. And he actually had a fold of fabric under his foot to make them fit. And he's like, oh yeah, that's normally how my socks fit. That's fine. I was like, no, no, that's not fine. So if he finds these to be more comfortable, then I'll continue knitting them for him. So yeah, I finished that, and you can see how much of the toe on the next sock I have done. So there's that. One of the other items I've been working on this week, sorry, I'm just taking it out of the project bag. This is, do I still have the, I do. This is Easy Knits yarn, and the colourway is Night Stalker on the fidget lace base. Now, I'm actually curious about this, and I'm curious to know what other people think on it. I mean, I think it's really cute that it's called fidget lace, but the base is actually 100% superwash merino. So why bother with calling the base fidget lace? And I'm noticing this with a lot of dyers lately. They're renaming their bases. And I don't get it, because what I really want to know is that it's superwash merino. That's all I want to know. And I find it a little bit confusing when I'm online looking or whatever, and I'm coming up. And look, I happen to have this in my hand, and this is why I'm mentioning fidget lace, but I've seen it in other places as well. I think it was on the Scheme Queen yarn that I was using, and I'm sure it's in plenty of other dyers. I think the reason why this is being done is, you know, just to make their bases sound different. Whereas the truth is, a lot of the bases I think are coming from the same place. There are only so many suppliers for bases. And these are making it sound a little bit different. Maybe that's why they're doing it. I don't know. But personally, I could live without the confusion of having an extra name for the base, when what I really want to know is that it's 100% superwash merino. And if I go to another brand of yarn, or sorry, another dyer, I don't want to have to work out that their particular type of lace is 100% superwash merino or what it is. I would just like to see it printed there so that I can easily compare what I'm getting. But maybe that's just me. I would actually really love to hear from anybody who has any comments on that. You know, I'd kind of like to start getting some other opinions back. I suppose I could put it in the Ravelry group, but to be honest with you, I found that when I'm posting in the Ravelry group, a lot of the times I'm not even getting any views on the threads. So I don't know if I should persist with it or not. Again, if any of you do want to use the Ravelry group, or if there's any suggestions for something you'd like to see in there, it is the Knitteratti group, Knitteratti. And you should feel free to start your own threads in there. You know, it doesn't just have to be about my designs or whatever. You know, anything that you want to discuss, I'm very keen to hear your opinions. But there you go. I should get on with my shawl that I'm working on. So really all I've gotten done on this today is the garter stitch section. It looks very similar to, just trying to focus there. It looks very similar to the Midsummer shawl, which is currently in testing on Ravelry. I have some very, very lovely testers helping me out there, and they've been great. I have to say doing the testing this way has been far more positive for me in terms of feedback compared to how I had been doing it, and I'm a lot more confident about the feedback that I'm getting. So if any of you do need testers, look in some of the Ravelry groups. You know, I don't know how you've been doing it, but certainly I think it has benefited me. So yeah, this is just a basic garter. It's not actually the same as the Midsummer one. The increases are different. So I'm trying to keep this very, very basic, just for people's first introduction to using lace weight and to doing shawl knitting. So I think I've pretty much gotten to the part where I'm going to start doing a simple lace motif, but I'm not there just yet. So hopefully I'll have some of that to show you next week. I am enjoying how the colours in this are coming out. You know, the grey is quite neutral, and then it's just a little bit of interest with the way the colours are coming through. You know, so it's not too heavy. It's not like the colours are quite muted. They're not that true to life. That's a little bit better. I mean, they're quite dark, the colours. I'm trying to explain it in such a way that you can understand how it looks in real life. That is actually pretty close to it. But it's just this little bit here and there. It's not something that's almost slapping you in the face with, you know, these pops of colour. So even though they are quite dark, they work very, very well. And again, this is something that you can just throw on over jeans and go, or use it as a scarf. You know, however you would normally use it with a hoodie or under a jacket or whatever, throw it on and go. You can wear it over your shoulders like a traditional shawl, absolutely. But, you know, you don't necessarily have to wear it to be displayed, to display the entire thing, you know, even though it's always nice to do that. You know, it is, I like anyway, you know, if I have an evening event or something like that, to be able to show my shawls off completely rather than just bundling them under a coat. But I do use them both ways. But I don't know what my camera is up to. Sorry, you've probably seen enough of that. So I am trying to up my skills in terms of working out how to get the camera to focus and get the colours to show, and unfortunately I'm not very good at it yet. Another thing that I actually would like to mention about working with lace weight is, although it's quite light, it can still be very warm, especially if you double it up or bundle it up. So by the time this is blocked, and I'll just put this out again. Okay, when you block this, it's going to become, you know, quite open and quite airy. But that doesn't mean that it won't keep you warm. I'm sure most of you are aware of this already, but when you take a fabric, especially a natural fibre, and you start to fold it and double it over, the air gets trapped between these layers that you're creating, and it actually increases the amount of warmth that you're getting from it. So don't put your lace shawls away in winter. You know, you can double them up and they will keep you quite warm, you know, if you have them secured up around your neck. You will be kept quite warm, and I often do that with them in winter, and Irish winters can go into -°C, so it can be quite cold. There's a lovely little pop of colour there. But yeah, lace shawls, they're not just for summer. Okay, so I'm going to put this back into its project bag. And there's some dog hair in here that I'm going to remove. Okay. And the last thing that I've been working on this week, which if you're a regular viewer, you see every week, but I did say that I was going to take some time to put in more work on this. So, yep, this is my Dye Ninja scarf, shawl, stole, however you prefer to, whatever you prefer to call it. So you can see it is wide enough to be a stole. And I've probably put maybe that much on it this week, which when you're working with lace weight, you know, on such a small needle, I think this is a size 2 needle. And I am enjoying these. I think these are actually Addies. I don't know where I found the packet off these last week after I was finished recording, and I've promptly lost it again. No, I've misplaced it again. Sorry about the crinkling. But yeah, I think these were Addies, but not branded as Addies. So I think that's what these are. And as I've said before, I do really like the length of these needles. So they're quite short, but they work for me. So definitely would buy these ones again. Okay. And just for comparison, and I showed it last week, but I'm going to show it again this week. I'll actually show it down here. Maybe if I put my hand behind it here. These are also Addies. I'm only halfway through my second pair of socks using these. That's all I've used them for. And look at how much of that has come off. I definitely would not buy these again. Absolutely not. That was a waste. It was approximately £8.50 sterling So for me, for a set of DPNs, that's a little pricey. And I expected more because, you know, Addi seems to have a very good reputation. It's a good brand. But yeah, really, really unhappy with how the finish on those has come off. I mean, I know it's just a bit of colouring, but, you know, it looks kind of, it doesn't look great. And also it doesn't feel great because the feeling there on that bit that's worn away is actually quite gritty. You know, as I'm doing that, it feels gritty compared to the part down here, which is still nice and smooth. So I can definitely feel when I'm knitting with this needle, I can feel that grittiness when the two needles are being pushed together, or sliding together, I suppose is a better way of putting it. So yeah, would not buy this particular set of Addis again. You can see on that end as well. The wear does seem to be worst on this gold needle. So the red one seems to be doing fine. And I think there's a little bit on the orange one, but not as much. Now, so it is primarily this gold one. Maybe I just got a bad one, to be fair. Maybe I did just get, you know, the one needle that came out with a bad finish. But it certainly put me off. But these ones, I mean, I love the cable. And they are blunt, which is surprising for me. I generally don't like blunt needles, so even with these sock ones, I don't knit with the blunt end. I turn the needle over every time and I get the, is that the sharp end? No, the sharp end is down here. I turn the needle over every time and I knit with the sharp end. So these ones have one blunt end and one sharp end. But I'm still enjoying these. So there we go. And as I said, I've put probably the most that I've put on it in 1 week since I started knitting on this project, and I'm still really enjoying it. I'm still conflicted as to whether to turn this into a pattern or not. I mean, I love it, but I have to wonder, would enough other people be willing to knit on 2mm needles with two skeins of lace weight, or 2 cakes even, however you want to put it, you know, for the length of time that it would require to finish this project. Because when you put out a pattern, it does take time, you know, and if I could be putting out a different pattern that's more likely to sell, then really that's what I should be working on. So unless somebody asks me for this specifically, it may not make it into a pattern, unfortunately. And what's also unfortunate is that as of yet, I have not been able to buy any more dye ninja yarn because I haven't seen them anywhere. I prefer to buy in person rather than buying online because the shipping can be astronomical over here. I actually had, and I'm going to start knitting now just while I'm talking to you. I had a conversation with somebody during the week who wanted to send me something. She wanted to send me a book. And the shipping was so expensive that it was just prohibitive. So this is a book from the States, and I think $30 from USPS. $30 to send one book. I mean, that'll tell you what shipping costs over here are like. And it does mean that unfortunately I don't get to buy as much from different dyers as I would like. So I buy primarily at craft shows or yarn festivals, you know, the sort of thing that I mean. So I am hoping to get some more dye ninja yarn, but I will be waiting until I see them at a craft fair. But I absolutely love the stuff. I really do. And I can't wait to try it in maybe a fingering weight, or even maybe some more lace weight. And can you hear that? I don't know, you probably can't hear that, but you can actually hear how gritty it is. Maybe that isn't going to come out, but I can hear how gritty it is as I'm knitting with them. But yeah, I would definitely recommend trying out some Dyne & G yarn. I've only ever had these 2 skeins that I'm knitting with, but I'll definitely go again the next time I see them, and hopefully I'll pick a project that I'll be able to turn into a pattern. And that way hopefully it'll introduce other people to Dyne & G yarn as well. There we go. So I think it's been a bit of a short one this week. I'm going to be covering the Kitchener stitch in the next section, the technical section. If anybody doesn't want to see that or isn't interested, I'd like to thank you so much for watching this far. I really do appreciate you giving your time, and if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, and if you haven't already, please do subscribe, because it really helps me get out there and get the podcast out there. And like I said, I really want to hear your feedback, your views, anything you want to discuss. You can put it in the comments underneath, or anywhere else you can find me. I'm very happy to speak to anybody on any of the platforms that are available, I guess. Okay, so thanks very much, guys, and I'll see you next week. And for those of you who are hanging on for Kitchener stitch, I'll see you in a minute. Hey everyone, and we're back. So as I said, today we are going to cover the Kitchener stitch. And it is going to be specifically the Kitchener stitch for stockinette. Next week I will cover Kitchener stitch for garter stitch, but the most common one that you would use for doing up the toe on a sock or something like that will be in stockinette. So to start, you need 2 pieces of fabric. So I've just done 2 little swatches here, but you can pretend that it's, you know, either side of a toe or something like that. And you need to make sure that the swatches or whatever stitches that you're Kitchenering together, you put them on 2 needles, and there should be the same number of stitches on each needle. So here you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, there we go. 10 stitches on each needle. Now I'm going to start from this side. So I just want to load these up, and you'll notice that I have the right side facing out on both sides. Okay, so the wrong sides are together and the right side is facing out. Sorry, the focus is gone. There we go. Right side is facing out on both sides. Now, what I would normally do is push these to the far end of the needle. It doesn't matter which side you start from. And I would normally use some of this green yarn to Kitchener the 2 together, but I figure you wouldn't be able to see that very clearly. So instead, I have my trusty darning needle. I know they're called something, tapestry needle I think is what they're called in America or in other places. So over here we call this a darning needle. And I've just put some red yarn through it just so that you'll be able to see what I'm doing. Sorry, just hit against the camera again. There we go. Okay, there we go, nice and comfy. So when I'm doing this, what I try to remember is the phrase knit, purl, purl, knit. And I just keep repeating that over and over as I go. Knit, purl, purl, knit, okay? So I start with the side facing me, and some of these stitches are going to be coming off the needle, so I want it quite close to the tip. So knit, and the first one comes off the needle. Okay. Purl. I'll just pull some of this through. So the first stitch has come off the needle, the second stitch stays on the needle. Okay. That yarn doesn't need to be over there. So we have knit, purl. purl on the second needle, and that stitch comes off. Okay, I just pull some of this through. Sorry, my tail is getting caught in there. There's purl, knit. Sorry. So you can see I'm putting the needle in as though to knit. And that stitch stays on the needle. And then we begin the process again. Okay? So we're going through this stitch for the second time, but this time as though to knit. So it's knit, and it comes off the needle. Purl. And it stays on the needle. The yarn can come underneath there. And then back to the needle on the back, purl. So you can see I'm inserting the needle as though to purl, and it comes off the needle. And knit. And it stays on the needle. Okay, and we just continue the whole way down through the stitches like that. So I'll do it once more. Knit, purl, purl, knit is the thing to remember, okay? So knit, and I go through the stitch as though to knit. The first stitch comes off the needle. Purl. I go through the stitch as though to purl, and it stays on the needle. Okay, and put that under there. Then we're going to go to the back needle. We're going to purl. I can see there that I'm kind of catching some of the other red yarn as I'm doing this. Sorry, try and focus again. So I don't want to catch any other yarn as I'm doing this. I just want to, as though it was a knitting needle, I just insert the darning needle as though to purl, and it comes off the needle and knit. Sometimes when it does that, it's handier to take a firmer grasp. Okay. So you can see here that this does not look like stockinette. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to work my way to the end of these 10 stitches, and I'm going to pause here, work my way through them, and then I'll come back and I'll show you how to fix what's going on down here. Okay, back in a minute. Okay, and I'm back. So as you can see, I've just done knit, purl, purl, knit the whole way down along. Now I've waited until I've gotten to the end of this process to do the tightening up, but you can actually do, you know, 10 stitches, stop, tighten it up, do another 10 stitches, stop, tighten it up, whatever suits you. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to find the end of my yarn, and I'm holding on to this end because for me I want to make sure that it doesn't pull through, but yeah, I'm going to move the camera a little and just see if I can get a better. So what I'm going to start by doing is just, this is how everybody says to do it, just pull it through. You can see that this does not work for me. It never pulls through properly. So here's how I end up doing it. Okay, so I'll just take my darning needle and I'll just start pulling the yarn and tightening it up. Okay, so I'm actually pulling the two pieces of fabric together. You can see that there's extra yarn there, and I'm just pulling it through. Let's try and get in here to the next piece. So I'm just inserting the needle and pulling it through. Now, why is this piece not pulling through very nicely? I'm pulling it in the wrong direction. That's why. Okay, and then we next piece. And it does take a bit of practice to find the next piece that you should be pulling through. To say the lighting here has actually gotten quite bad. I use natural lighting, so sometimes it does get a little bit dark. But as I've said before, I am hoping once I get my Patreon sorted, or not get it sorted, I mean it's up there, but once I have some more patrons, I am hoping to be able to address the issue. Okay, so you can see what I'm doing here. As I'm tightening it, I'm getting this little row of matching stitches. Now, where's the next pull here? Yeah, this can be the difficult part, working out. There it is. Okay, hiding in under there. I think I'm missing something here. Yeah, I think I made a boo-boo when I was doing this Kitchener, but I did it after you saw me do it, so hopefully it shouldn't put you out when you're doing yours. So normally what I would do once I've seen this is I actually have to go back and undo it, take out my stitches and go from there. So yeah, I think what's happened is my red yarn has gotten wrapped around itself. Wait, no, we might have it. We might have it. Or we might not. So I won't bore you with this for too much longer, but basically what I'm trying to do is I have this loop here that I want to tighten, and I'm trying to work out, there's one side of it, but I want to pull it to this side, because that's the direction that, look, there's the mistake. I went through 2 stitches together in the same way. So yeah, what I'm going to end up doing is pulling that out and doing it the right way, but I think you've probably gotten the idea of how to tighten this and to get it to work. And to be honest, I don't have time to redo this video today, but if any of you would like me to redo the video, oh, look at that. Look, that's so much nicer. We're getting there. We're getting there. So yeah, if anybody would like me to redo this video, please do let me know. If not, there will be, I will be covering Kitchener stitch for garter stitch next week. Obviously this Kitchener stitch produces stockinette fabric. You can see there, we're back on track. How did I not notice going through 2 stitches at once? Normally when that happens you end up with an odd number of stitches at the end. However, I'm nearly there. I don't want to let you go until I've actually finished it. It's nearly there. Okay. So yeah, I do find sometimes that once I tighten them, I want to go back and tighten them again, and you can do that. I mean, you can draw the yarn in the opposite direction and loosen it if you want. If you feel that you've pulled it too tight and you want to give it another go, pulling in the other direction, that's fine too. Look. There we go. See, I didn't want to leave it while it looked like a hot mess. So close, so close. Pulling it in the wrong direction. here. Pull. Oh, I'm missing one. When it doesn't pull nicely, it means that you're not pulling in the right place. You've missed a little section to pull through. There we go. And we can see this section down here has been pulled very tight, because that's what happens when you just pull the yarn straight through, I find. It works for some people. I've never gotten that to work for me. But there you have it, apart from my mistake in the middle, which normally I would go back and fix. So you can see the varying tensions here. If I want to tension it again, you just keep going through, pulling until you have what you want. So yeah, the first two probably turned out the best, and you can see that I have them. If this was in green, you wouldn't be able to tell it from the other stitches in the row. Oh, I just can't leave well enough alone. There. See, it's much easier to see when you're just doing a small bit of tightening, that I'm going from one side of the stitch to the other. Try it here again. So there's one side of the stitch, and there's the other. There is another stitch in here that you can't see because it's pulled too tight. There we go, part of it. One side of the stitch. Oops. Okay, my camera has just fallen, so I think that's probably... Oh dear, the whole thing has come apart. Okay, so that's probably my cue to give up on the tightening and let you go. Okay guys, thanks so much for watching this week. And hopefully I'll see you again next week for Kitchener, the garter stitch version. Okay, take care.